Hello. Hope everybody's having a nice weekend. Today we're going to be joined for another UNSHUSHED talk with Kesha from Healing from the Narcissist, and she's also a life coach. So just going to wait for her to join us now in the live. Hopefully not too much. I can see you. Ooh. Hopefully that's worked, I think. Has that worked? Oh,
hey, yeah, I'm here.
I'm so rubbish with these things. I always just do it wrong.
Yeah. Oh.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Are you in the UK?
Yeah, I'm in London.
In lockdown. I mean, I'm usually speaking to people in different places, so it's nice to actually speak to somebody going through the same situation. But yeah, how's your weekend been?
It's been okay. It's gone quickly as always. The weekend always just flies by, and then it's Monday again. But yeah,
it's just hard to keep track of what day it actually is, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is. It really is.
It's just I'm living alone as well, so sometimes I just talk to my plants. Oh, well, no, thank you so much for obviously jumping online, having a chat with us. I came across your profile, I think a couple of months ago now. And I was just keen to kind of connect and just talk to you and hear more about kind of the work you're doing and your story. So just a little intro from our side. We're a platform that's supporting survivors of sexual trauma, sexual violence. And I think the topic of narcissists and just healing in general from any kind of toxic, situation or relationship, that was kind of why I wanted to get in touch to, kind of open the conversation. And for anyone who might have experienced that type of relationship, I guess, to speak to you about it and to hear your side of things as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm an open book when it comes to this topic, so I have a lot of stuff to say.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe we could start by you doing a little introduction. I know you also do life coaching stuff as well, so maybe if you have a little introduction too.
I'm a life coach and survivor of narcissistic abuse. I was in a relationship with a narcissist for 3 years. My dad is also a narcissist. And after the narcissist discarded me, I started going on this journey of healing and working out, what I need to do to kind of heal from the narcissist, but also heal from previous traumas that I hadn't particularly acknowledged until I had been in a relationship with a narcissist, and it kind of brought everything up, to the surface.
Yeah.
All of the issues that I had. So currently I'm on a mission to spread awareness of narcissism, help others heal. And it's funny because I've always wanted to do something helping other people. I just didn't know what. So I kind of feel that I went through my experience for the purposes of helping other people when I came out the other side of it. So that is my goal at the moment. And I love doing it. It's obviously sad that so many of us have experienced narcissistic abuse, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we can heal from this. So that's the message I kind of want to spread to all survivors of abuse.
Absolutely. And I think just having more of these conversations, even this platform Shushbox, what we're doing, it was again similar to what you're just saying. When you have those certain experiences yourself, it can be healing to kind of have these conversations and connect with other people and let people know that they're not alone in what they're going through. And I think when you do go on that inward journey, there's so much that you learn, isn't there, that you kind of want to share with people. And you just think, when you're in that situation, having someone there who can explain that it's not just something in their head that they're thinking, what is going on. So yeah, no, thank you for that introduction. And I was, I've been reading. So my experience, I have Googled the word narcissist before because I didn't know if somebody, it was a family situation, and I was looking at how a person was acting, their general behaviour. And that was the first time that I like Googled, like, what is a narcissist? Is this narcissistic behaviour? So, maybe we could look at what is a narcissist, because, it's a character disorder, right?
Yeah, so it's a cluster B personality disorder. So someone with that type of personality disorder or that type of issue will have problems regulating their emotions, and that comes across in their kind of chaotic behaviour. The Jekyll and Hyde personality, they're kind of all over the place. But the typical characteristics of a narcissist would be that they're very entitled. They think that the world is very black and white. So in the eyes of a narcissist, you can't be a mixture of good and bad. You can't be a good person who makes, a few mistakes. It's either you're a good person or you're a bad person. They're very harsh. They're very pessimistic about the way they view the world. And, they really show this false sense of superiority, against or over other people. So they make you feel extremely inadequate. But, they do go through this cycle that they repeat throughout their relationships, which is idealize, devalue, and discard. So at first, they will come across as, everything that you want them to be. They mirror your personality, your interests, everything that you like. And you're thinking, wow, I've just met literally the love of my life. This person has come into my world. They've changed it. They're everything that I was looking for. And then gradually they start to devalue you. But it's at such a slow rate. It's so insidious that you don't actually know what's going on. And you do sense that something is going wrong, or there's something not quite right, but you can't put your finger on it until it's so blatantly obvious that something is wrong. And then, it's so far gone. And then the narcissist will discard you. They can come back afterwards. Sometimes they don't. But they always have a healthy supply of people to do this to in the background. So they always have someone ready and waiting in case you decide to leave them. So their relationships with people are very transactional. It's, a means to an end. There's no emotion or attachment in the normal sense of the word from the narcissist when they're in a relationship with you. But, you do get different types of narcissists as well. So
I was going to say, is there like a, a spectrum? So, when I was Googling the word narcissist, I was like, I don't know if I'm just, am I overthinking this? Or is there are parts of it that I was like, right, that person is acting that way. So, is there like a spectrum that you can be like on that spectrum of narcissism?
Yeah, there is definitely a spectrum. I mean, even down to the fact that we all have narcissistic tendencies, there is a spectrum from the person who has some narcissistic tendencies to someone who is, for example, a malignant narcissist who is very blatantly getting, gratification from your pain. They enjoy, making other people suffer. They're almost, on psychopath type of level. And then you've got the covert narcissist who is also highly dangerous because at least with the malignant narcissist, you know what they're doing. They make their intentions clear. But with the covert narcissist, it's very subtle, and it's a lot of deception, a lot of manipulation. So you can't say this is what they're doing to me because you can't really identify it properly. And then you've got the classic narcissist who is what we think of when we say narcissist. The person who's very loud, is quite attention seeking. They love everyone focusing on them. But they're not the dangerous one. It's the covert narcissist who is particularly dangerous because you just don't see what they're going to do. You don't see it coming at all. And people they don't really speak about it enough, so you're not prepared for it. You don't know what to do when you start working out, okay, this person is gaslighting me, they're projecting, what do I do from here? It's very difficult, and that's what I experienced with my ex. He's a covert narcissist.
I was going to say, in your relationship and stuff, what was were there things that that you were noticing? I mean, the term gaslighting, we did a post on it not long ago, and when I was like looking at gaslighting, I know you talk about gaslighting. Yeah. And, it's so interesting when you look at it and you're like, oh my god, that literally that makes so much sense. So did you have that moment kind of in your relationship when you were like thinking something wasn't right? Or
yeah, I felt that for quite a long time, but for so long I was internalizing it and saying to myself, I'm doing something wrong and that's why he's acting like that. But after a point in time, I just thought, no, hold on, I'm not doing anything differently to what I did at the start when he was love bombing me. So it can't be me that's causing this. So that's when I started to Google his behavior, and then narcissism came up. And to be honest, I don't think I'd even heard of narcissism before. So when I read it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is his behavior to a T. And I presented him with that information. And of course, he just laughed it off. You know, he didn't really care. It didn't make a difference. He still continued doing what he was doing, you know, because quite frankly, narcissists don't care. But yeah, it became very obvious to me. And, you know, I started doing counseling as well. And even, you know, the therapist was saying, you know, this is an abusive relationship quite clearly. So I started to realize, and it still took me a long time to even think about leaving. I still wanted to fix him. You can't fix a narcissist, you know, they're going to be a narcissist for life. But yeah, I did still want to fix him and help him to be a better man. And I think that's the trap that a lot of us fall into, especially being an empath. You know, that is what we want to do. We want to help other people grow as, you know, as a person.
Absolutely. And I mean, I guess as well with narcissists, you know, you can have obviously in relationships, but in friendships and in, you know, like with a parent, like you might have a parent who's got those kind of traits. So yeah, I feel like I resonate with that, you know, when you are just wanting to, if you're a giver, you know, if you're just like constantly giving, and then, you know, there's no limit to your giving, when, you know, then it's just getting taken away and then your energy is drained, right? So that's only something recently that I've kind of been working on, to be honest, like boundaries and, you know, just looking more at where is my energy going, and, you know, trying to bring some of it back to myself.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something I've had to work on a lot, is setting boundaries, because that doesn't come naturally to me, because I'm so used to seeking external validation from other people and, you know, associating my worth with the extent to which I can please other people. So setting boundaries, you know, a lot of us may feel guilty when we initially take that step, but it's absolutely necessary for self-preservation to set boundaries, you know. So that is part of the healing journey for me and for many other people as well.
Definitely. I mean, I agree. And it's only, I think in the last 6 months, I've really been trying to understand boundaries. And I remember, because I work with a coach, like I have a coach every week, and she was like telling me that I needed to do it. It was so uncomfortable, because I'm not used to like setting any type of boundary, really. I used to live basically I just never used to feel like myself. And this is like going back to childhood trauma, and, you know, it was just unresolved trauma that was just, you know, that was why I was acting the way that I was for like 30 years or however long. But yeah, with the boundaries, when she was first explaining I needed to do it with even like my parent, I was like, oh, I'm really scared. I was really nervous. She told me to do a voice note, to send a voice note to someone, and it was like my throat chakra was like blocked for a really long time. So, you know, to get into that place and be like, it wasn't even anything. It didn't have to be aggressive. You can set boundaries. I think obviously there are extremes when you can cut someone out, and that is totally valid. If you do need to cut somebody out of your life, I've done that with a few friendships recently, and, you know, no regrets. There was no hard feelings. It wasn't, nothing mean was said. It was just that distance was needed. But you can set boundaries in a way that aren't, it doesn't need to be so cutthroat, right, when setting boundaries.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But at the same time, I do feel that, you know, when a lot of us, when we do start to introduce boundaries into our life, because we feel guilty, it's unfamiliar to us, we kind of ask for permission from the other person. And I feel when you're setting boundaries, you need to be assertive and make it clear that this is my boundary, and that is that. So it's not negotiable, you know. So often we do kind of, we say it, but like half-heartedly, and that's not sufficient when you're setting boundaries. You need to make the other person know that this is my boundary and that is that. Because if you say it half-heartedly, then the other person knows there's room for them to cross over your boundary. So yeah, you don't have to be cutthroat, but you do have to be assertive when you say it. So that doesn't necessarily mean aggressive, but you need to make it clear that you're firm in what you're saying and you're going to follow through with what you've said. Definitely.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, I don't know if cutthroat was even the right thing to say, but yeah, like aggressive. You know, I was like, right, okay, I need to set this boundary. I'm going to be like so tough, but it wasn't. You know, the way that when I started to do it, when you're just not used to doing it, right? When you are just someone who doesn't have any boundaries and you're just like getting pulled every way. The boundaries are such a assertiveness and following through. I mean, even when I was starting to set boundaries, I could see myself going back to the old habits, because obviously it's hard to it doesn't just change overnight. So yeah, following through, and I think being assertive is so important.
Absolutely, especially when there aren't loads of narcissists walking around. You do have to be assertive, because if they can see there's a way to get through to you, they will absolutely take it. So you do have to follow through with what you say. Otherwise, you're opening the door for toxic people to come in and take advantage of you. So it's extremely important.
It is, and I have blocked people for long amounts of time, and sometimes I'm like, maybe I will, because I'm trying to heal, and but this person, for example, that reference of the person, I was like, I don't know if they're a narcissist or not. Like, are they a narcissist or not? I'm like happy now, but it is that decision of, do I want to go back to having that person in my life, or now that I understand boundaries, like, do you think you can, obviously, when you start learning about boundaries and obviously feeling more assertive in yourself and confident, can we coexist with like a narcissist? Do you know what I mean? Or are they always going to find their way in?
I mean, something that we have to accept is the fact that there's always going to be toxic people in life, and there's always going to be narcissists around. And of course, narcissists are going to naturally go to the easy targets, so the people who have weak boundaries, who have low self-esteem, because that's quick supply for them. But that's not to say that they're not going to target other people who have strong boundaries. They will make that attempt to try and interact and engage with you, but all you can do is make yourself unattractive to the narcissist. Keep your boundaries up. Don't say one thing and then do a completely different thing, because that is attractive to a narcissist. So it's absolutely possible to coexist with narcissists around and live a happy life, because you don't have to engage with them. They may well come to you, you may well have an initial conversation, but as soon as you see those red flags, walk away. Don't interact. You don't have to engage with them, and therefore you don't have to have a relationship with them. I mean, in some capacities, for example, at work, you may have to speak to a colleague who's a narcissist. But I mean, in terms of a relationship, a family member, you can put those boundaries in place and not interact with them. So, I'm not worried personally about a narcissist approaching me, because I know I now have the tools I need to deal with that situation. Whereas before, I didn't have that. So I would let them in, and then they would cause me so much emotional and psychological damage. I know that's not the case now. So it's about getting to a point where you know how to handle the narcissist. Yeah, and the red flags, like you said, the love bombing, the gaslighting. There's loads of red flags. What are the red flags would you say to kind of look out for? So love bombing is one of the main ones, where at the beginning stages, they are rushing it. Everything is happening so fast. They are doing it too much, for someone that they don't know much about. They're claiming to love you, even though they just met you like 2 seconds ago, They also are very, how would I say this? You're always on borrowed time with them. They're always like watching their watch or checking the time. They always have somewhere else to be. They may mention a crazy ex or other people, their exes, which is when it's not conducive to the conversation, when you're not actually speaking about exes. They like to trash talk other people and kind of put you on a pedestal so that you feel this sense of security, but they go around doing this to many people. So they like to trash talk so many people. I saw you did a post about when they talk about the crazy ex, they're usually talking about themselves. Yeah, they are. Exactly. They are talking about themselves. And they're very inconsistent as well. As much as they love bomb you, there's always those red flags of inconsistency, because they're not genuine. Everything they do is calculated. They're likely doing it to several people. So there's no level of consistency with them. So there's always red flags. If I, go back to the beginning stages with my ex, there was loads of red flags. I mean, one thing that he said to me was, I find it hard to be a good person, it's just difficult for me. So for me, I thought, okay, whatever, because the way he's acting towards me, he's shown he's a very good person. But they feed you these little bits of information that actually tells you who they are, their character, but at the time, because they're not consistent, it's difficult to put the pieces of the puzzle together and work out who actually is this person in front of me. They are wearing a mask, so it's difficult to work out. And especially when you don't think that there's the potential for people to behave in this way. This is something that a lot of people say, I would never end up in an abusive relationship. I would never end up with a narcissist. But the narcissist will target people like that, because you would never, ever comprehend that people like this exist. So for me, I'm prepared for that. So I know to look for those red flags. I know, that there's the potential for someone to abuse me. So I can take the necessary steps to prevent that. Someone who doesn't ever comprehend that, they're not going to know what to do when it happens to them. They just can't even, like I say, comprehend that it's possible. So it's so important that everyone understands that the narcissist is real. It's not something that, we just make up, or, we're just trying to be bitter against, our exes or toxic family members. The narcissist is real. It's a real personality disorder, and they are going out seeking supply from people. It's so important that everyone recognises that.
That is important, because, even how I was saying, I don't know if this person was a narcissist or not, or was I overreacting or was I not, but even to have that reaction, to be like, to be questioning it, it's something inside of you, like, you're feeling you're going through the experience, right? So how it's making you feel.
100%. And I said this on the Instagram live I did the other day, that we shouldn't, focus too much on, is this person a narcissist or not? It is useful to know, for example, it helped me because I didn't really know what I was going through until I Googled it, and then narcissism came up.
Yeah.
But for you to even go down that route, like you say, there's something wrong in the relationship at that time. So whether or not the person's a narcissist, they're still causing you harm for you to even go looking for answers on the internet. That's not normal in a healthy relationship. So, narcissism, looking it up can help you, but not all aspect of narcissism will fit the person you're with. They may not be a narcissist, but clearly they're toxic. And that's all
a toxic person, isn't it? And, protecting yourself from toxic energy, toxic people, that can actually drain you, and it really can change. When you start to move away from toxic people in general, it's like you can breathe again. Well, this experience, it's like, you just recenter and come back to who you actually are. And I feel like, I don't know, I just seem to connect with, like, you can also talk about like trauma bonding. I don't know, I feel like I had a lot of connections that were toxic, but then I don't know if I was toxic at that time too. So it was a lot of like self going inwards, and learning these tools that you're talking about, like boundaries and meditation, just connecting to the self and spending time alone. I feel like lockdowns helped me, actually. I've spent a lot of time just, getting to being with my emotions more.
I definitely agree. Spending time alone is very important, especially, if you've come out the other side of being with a narcissist, or, interacting with a narcissist, because you spend so much time fixating on how to please this other person. What do I need to do to change their behavior? And you are relying on their validation and their perception or interpretation of what's going on in your relationship. So it's so important to step away from that and, focus on yourself. What do I want? What do I like in life? What makes me tick? And, for me, that has just been so life-changing to actually focus on myself again. I actually enjoy life again. Life wasn't enjoyable for me with the narcissist, because I was constantly on edge. I was constantly anxious, just focusing on, like, everything in my life. Work suffered, like, everything.
Yeah.
And now I've been able to build myself back up. I've been able to address issues from my childhood, you know, finally that actually contributed towards me even looking at the narcissist and staying with the narcissist. So I've actually had time to do that, and I'm so grateful for the ability to do that. You know, I wouldn't be able to do that if I was moving on to someone else, you know, quickly. I've been single now, I think, for about 3 years or something like that.
Me too. Oh,
yeah.
I'm literally just, you know, doing the exact, you know, doing this whole healing thing and
yeah.
going to the childhood and, you know, some of the relationships and friendships and the way that I was, like, I had really low self-esteem and, you know, just no confidence. And that post that I reposted, do whatever makes you genuinely happy, not what you think will gain the approval and validation of others. Yeah. I just feel like I literally just used to exist to please people, to make people laugh. And I think that's another thing with, like, you know, when people are going through, when you're not feeling good inside yourself, it's easy. I used to wear a mask, you know, I'd just be smiling, and that toxic positivity of this is how I survived, you know, just keep it positive, everything's positive. But inside I was like not feeling that way.
Yeah,
and
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, so having time alone, I think, in between relationships, you know, it's coming up, it's 3 years as well for me now, and I feel like I think you mentioned this on another one of your lives actually, where, you know, you're just not going to be attracted to that type of person now that you've done all this healing work, right? It's like the way that what you're looking for in a person has completely changed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't look for the same things I looked for then. And to be honest, I didn't look for much previously. It was kind of, you know, if you're interested in me, that's a good thing, because my self-worth was so low. So it's like, not that I would take attention from anyone, but, you know, I was so caught up with the fact that, you know, the narcissist was wanting to spend all this time with me, was so interested in me. You know, that was shocking to me, because growing up I haven't had that. You know, I've dealt with a lot of criticism and I've internalized that. But now, that kind of thing, I don't really care about that. What are your values? What can you bring to the table? What can you add to my life? You know, what substance do you have? I'm looking for completely different things now in a partner, you know, compared to before. So it's you change your views completely, and what you're attracted to does definitely change when you heal from your trauma and, you know, any other issues you had going on. So definitely the narcissist is no longer attractive to me.
That's good. I mean, I was going to reference someone else, but I think it was actually a post of yours. I was on your Instagram yesterday, and I think there was a post about you know, not looking for acceptance, looking for respect in a relationship. And I was like, that is exactly where I'm at.
Definitely.
You know, and I used to be in a relationship and just feel like I was not good enough, or I was always the one, you know, just trying to fit in. And now I'm not in that place. I'm in a place of, I know who I am, and, you know, I know what I've been through, and I've gone to those dark places. I've done the healing work, and I just want some, like, respect, right?
Exactly. And that's like the bare minimum as well, like respect. You know, it shouldn't even be something that you have to ask for, you know, because often when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you find yourself asking for basic respect. You don't ever have to ask for that. And if you're in a relationship where you have to ask, then you shouldn't be there, quite frankly. You know, that's the basic part of any relationship in any capacity, is respect. You know, so that's, for me, you know, that's not something that I'm really, you know, if I'm looking for a new partner, you know, that's the bare minimum.
It's expected, isn't it? Yes. But honestly, like, before, you know, I don't know if I've had a relationship, there might have been some traits of a narcissist in some of my repeat relationships, but, you know, the experience that you've had, I can't say that I've had that in terms of the full spectrum of narcissism. I think I might have experienced some of it kind of in a family dynamic. But with that said, anyway, respect is something that you should just, it's given, right? But I just never used to be that way. It was like, just treat me however, like, whatever.
Exactly.
But, you know, I guess it all does stem from, I know you've mentioned also about attachment styles. And I read a book probably like a year ago called The Attachment Theory, I think, and I was reading more about my attachment style, and that resonated with me so much. I was like, whoa, I know, you know, I can see the type of people that I've been attracting. So I'm avoidant. I used to be avoidant to begin with, but then insecure, like when you're actually in the relationship.
Yeah.
So I think understanding your attachment styles, and then taking it back to childhood, because that's where the attachment styles come from, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes from your relationship with your primary caregiver and the nature of that relationship. But I mean, it's not fixed, so you do have the ability to change your attachment style, you know, as you grow up. So that's the positive thing. But yeah, like you, when I read about attachment theory as well, that was life-changing for me, because it answered so many questions. It just explained so much that I didn't know why I was reacting to things in certain ways, why my relationships had the same kind of pattern, why I was seeking out the same type of people. And it's like attachment theory kind of gave me all of the answers for that, and I just applied it to my life and my childhood growing up, and it just fits and just explains so much. So when you have that knowledge, you can then take that information and, you know, change your attachment style if it's not, you know, secure, and, you know, just take those active steps to have more healthy relationships and feel more secure in yourself as a person. So I advise everyone to look at attachment theory.
It really is true when they say, like, knowledge is power, because you know, it's so true. And when you're reading about it, like you just said, it can really, like, help you shift your thinking and behavior when you do realize, okay, this is this way because of childhood. It all goes back to childhood trauma. A lot of the time, right?
A lot of things go back to childhood, you know. And it, you know, for me, it was shocking because I didn't think my childhood affected me that much, but it did, and it does for a lot of people. And also with, you know, attachment theory, you know, it's useful for yourself, but it's also useful for looking at other people, you know, and assessing how they respond to certain things and understanding them more. Because when I was reading about it, you know, I had my friends in mind, my, you know, family in mind, and it made me understand their actions more. So it's useful for yourself, but useful for relationships in general, you know, and working on those and just having more understanding of why people do what they do.
I'm so fascinated by the why people do, you know, I try to, so obviously we're covering a lot to do with, like, sexual abuse on this channel, on the Shush Box, like sexual assault, you know, when bad things happen, it's almost like, why do people do the things that they do? But I think, so I keep referencing your page, but I was literally on there so much yesterday. I was like, woo. I think you were saying abuse isn't a choice.
No, it is.
Abuse is a choice. Sorry. Too much reading going on. Yeah, so abuse is a choice. So abusers, you know, in all spectrums, choose to abuse.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's evident in the fact that they are selective about who they abuse, when they abuse, where they abuse. You know, if it wasn't a choice, they would be doing it at any given time, but they do it in very specific circumstances, in very specific ways. So that just evidences the fact that it's calculated, it's a choice, you know. And the thing is, you know, the narcissist, for example, abuses because of how they feel inside. You know, they feel deeply insecure, inadequate inside. They kind of reject themselves for who they are. But that doesn't mean they have to go on to abuse, because the person they abuse very likely feels that same feeling of being inadequate, you know, which is why they, you know, target them. But they're not abusing. So the narcissist doesn't have to abuse. They choose to. They just can't be bothered to work on themselves and address whatever they feel inside. They would rather project it onto other people because that's easier, you know. But the fact that there are many people who feel the same way the narcissist feels and don't abuse other people shows that it's very clearly a choice. Very clearly.
Yes, I can't believe I got that wrong to start with. I was a bit like, abuse isn't a choice. No, abuse is a choice. And yeah, thank you so much for that. That makes so much sense. And yeah, exactly. You know, they always say abusers go on to, someone who's been abused can go on to be an abuser. I don't know if I'm using the right reference here, but yeah, but that's not the case. You know, there's a choice at the end of the day in anyone's actions. There's a right and there's a wrong.
Exactly. I mean, it is true that some people who are abused go on to abuse others, but then simultaneously there's people who have been abused who don't go on to abuse. So again, it shows there's a choice. You know, you can't go through your life blaming, you know, childhood trauma or whatever trauma you've been through as to, you know, the reason for why you treat other people like crap. That's ridiculous. You have to take accountability for your own healing. It's as simple as that. And obviously it is hard, but what isn't hard in life? Nothing comes easy. you know, so.
Yes, I love this. Accountability and healing. And, you know,
yeah.
I was a toxic person. I mean, I'm saying it now. I used to feel for about 10, you know, up until around 28, 29, I was having toxic relationships. It wasn't just that they were being toxic to me. I was being toxic to them. I was in a toxic cycle of toxicity. It was just like a mess. And I used to drink a lot. I just, you know, everything was a result of trying to get as far away from the trauma without actually dealing with the trauma from my childhood. So there came a moment, basically, like late 20s, 29, 30, when I was just, I think I was like hungover. I just woke up one day. I was like, I literally hate myself. Like, I literally hate this. I cannot do this anymore. And that was like the spark of the start of going inwards. And I think for a lot of people, it's scary because obviously you don't know what's on the other side, but it's liberating and it's reconnecting to your truth. And it's like the best thing, healing, although there's so many, you know, ups and downs, and, you know, you've got to go to the dark place. I think a lot of people are afraid. I mean, I was afraid, but I was adamant. I was like confident that anything was better than how I felt and the actions that I was doing before. So I was like, I just didn't really care what was on the other side. I was like, I need to go to another side. So
definitely, healing is hard, and you know, I always say it's something that you have to actively seek, because it's not going to come to you. Unfortunately, you have to take the steps, you know, and it is hard work. It's not a linear process. You know, it does involve steps forward and then maybe steps back, but it's always better, like you say, than where you were before. And for me, I was at the point where I was at such a low, it couldn't get any worse. So me attempting to heal, it was only going to be onwards and upwards from there. And I'm so grateful that, you know, I took that step, because I'm in a completely different place now. You know, I'm still healing. I don't think you can ever be healed. As long as you're alive, you're going to be healing and working on yourself and growing as a person. But I'm just so glad I took that step, because my life is so much better now, you know, from where I was at the start of that journey. So, you know, it is something that is hard, but it's so worth it.
100%. I totally agree with everything that you're saying. I'm like, it's so true. And for anyone who's listening, you know, I'm going to post this after onto our page, but there is that when you're thinking about starting healing, I think having more conversations like this, and, you know, speaking to other people who've gone through similar things or had their own traumas, and knowing that there is a light, you know, at the end of the tunnel. And even if it is you're continuously working on yourself, there's another way to live, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're in the moment, you sometimes don't even realize that, you know, I didn't even realize there was another version of me.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same as well. You know, I feel completely different to how I was before. And I can actually say that I'm happy now, because I was never happy even before meeting the narcissist. I was never truly happy in my own skin. You know, I just always felt I wasn't good enough. And to now be in a place where I feel adequate, well, more than adequate, you know, I feel great. I think I'm amazing. You know, I'm just telling myself positive things about myself all the time until I actually believe it. And I never thought that was possible a few years ago, you know, and I just feel it's so helpful to other people to see the struggle that some of us have gone through and how we've come out the other side, because it then gives them hope that they can also achieve the same thing. And it absolutely is possible. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this can take us on to your kind of like life coaching then. How can people kind of connect with you to work with you? And if they are wanting to, maybe if they're watching this, or if they've gone through some kind of experiences and resonate kind of with what you're saying, how can people get in touch? Or
so I've got an email address, which, if I remember, it's Kesha@kesha'slifecoaching.com. It's on my Instagram page anyway. But my website, I'm going to be, because my website's not up yet, that's going to be up around June or July. But I do have a few people who have already contacted me that want to work with me. So anyone could just email me or just DM me about the life coaching, and then I'm happy to speak to them. But yeah, I can't wait. I just love to help people with, you know, their trauma and healing, and just, you know, seeing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, I'm a testament to that with my own story, because if you guys saw me a few years ago, I was nothing like how I am now. I wouldn't be able to speak about this openly on this platform. So, You know,
you're doing so well. And it's a topic again, you know, there's like stigma around it, isn't it? Like, should you even be talking about, it's like these topics that we feel like we're not allowed to talk about for so long.
Absolutely. There's a lot of, I don't know if it was on the live the other day, but we talked about, you know, some people saying the stigma of, you know, labeling a narcissist. And, you know, there's even like, you know, victim blaming and stuff like that with survivors. And it is difficult to come out and speak, because the instant question you will get asked is, well, why didn't you leave earlier? You know, it's things like that. It's always putting stuff back onto the survivor. And it's, you know, we just need to raise awareness so people understand the psychological damage and the trauma bonds that's formed in the, you know, the dynamics of these relationships. You know, it would be so helpful for most of the population to know about the cycle, the dynamics of these relationships, so that when people are in it, they can recognize it, they can get the support from their friends, because I didn't feel support from my friends necessarily, because they didn't understand what the relationship, you know, the dynamics of it and why I stayed. So it is so important to speak about it, to remove the stigma, to stop people from, you know, victim blaming and supporting narcissists, because there are enablers of narcissists. That's how they thrive. They can't thrive without the system to support them. So it's important to, raise awareness so that we can, I wouldn't say stop the narcissist, because the narcissist is going to continue to do what they do, but we can control how we respond to the narcissist, and if we, you know, interact with them. That's the most important thing, because you're always going to have, you know, evil people. You're always going to have like murderers, rapists, and, you know, all of that in this world. Just how do I protect myself from that? And it's important that people have the ability to do that.
So it's looking out. I mean, obviously there's probably loads we could go into of like, so what can we look out for? But no, I mean, what can we do to obviously protect ourselves? And then we've talked about, you know, looking out for certain red flags, setting boundaries.
So it's all about, I would say the key thing is recognizing the red flags. That's for me is the most important thing, because once you recognize that, you then have to take the next step, which is setting the boundaries, walking away, you know, I don't know, distancing yourself, depending on what the context of the situation is, because sometimes you're not able to physically get away. If it's at work, for example, you might have to interact with that person. But when you have the knowledge, you then know what to do next. For me, understanding the narcissist's mind, and, you know, why my ex came to me, why narcissists do what they do, has been so freeing for me, because it's like I've taken like the onus off me, you know, in terms of the abusive relationship, and I put it all on him, because it starts and ends with the narcissist. You were never the issue. So as long as you have that knowledge, you then know what to do. You know how to protect yourself, because you understand what the person's going to do next. Like with a narcissist, that's very textbook. So if someone approached me now, you know, and I got the vibes that, you know, they're a narcissist or they're toxic, it's like I know what we're going to do next. So I'm kind of just ahead of you, you know.
You can notice it. You're noticing it, right? Whereas before it would have been, you wouldn't even be looking for these red flags.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And I would be caught up in the toxic dynamic of the relationship. But it's like now I know what to do. And I feel so powerful being able to do that. You know, I've already used that, you know, already with people. From, you know, even, for example, my dad. So my biological dad, I met him in 2018 via Ancestry DNA. And at that time, I was in an abusive relationship. And straight away, I picked up narcissist vibes. Absolutely. He was like my ex times 10.
Wow.
And I was able to deal with that so swiftly. I didn't really get attached to him. You know, I was able to remove him from my life. Didn't feel guilty. It was just so smooth in comparison to the process with my ex, because I had that attachment with him, because I had that trauma bond, because I let it get so far. But with my dad, I didn't let it get to that stage. So I was able to understand his behavior. I was not internalizing it as there's an issue with me. And I knew exactly what I needed to do to protect my peace. So that's what I do.
That's important. Yeah, protecting your peace. Yeah. That's what it's about, isn't it? It's, you know, having your being at peace with yourself and noticing other people's behaviors, but not taking them on as your own, you know, you don't need to react to it. So, I mean, with that, So with your dad, I mean, I don't know if this is, sorry if it's a little bit too personal, but I was just going to ask, if you are kind of still having a relationship, have you managed to have a boundary in place, or is it just like, no, you noticed it and was like, right, no?
No, I don't have a relationship with him. He reached out to me the other day, randomly got my number, wouldn't tell me where from. So I said what I said to him. I said, basically, you're a narcissist. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't care about you. You know, just leave me alone. Then I blocked him. And that's how it will be. If he reaches out again, I will just continue to block him. I also don't speak to my mum. Wouldn't really say she's a narcissist, but she's got a lot of trauma which she projects onto me and has done my whole childhood. And it got to a point last year where I had to also remove her from my life. That was more difficult because of the attachment that I had to her. You know, I've grown up with her. But it got to the point where I had to say to myself, I'm suffering too much in this relationship. It's my mental health that's suffering. You know, she clearly has her own issues, which she refuses to address. And that's why she's projecting it onto me. And for so long, you know, there's been a back and forth. You know, there's been times where I don't speak to her and then I go back. And I just had to say no. You know, at the end of the day, I have to protect myself and my mental well-being. And if that means removing her from my life, then so be it. And I've got quite good at being able to do that now, even with the pressures of other people who will say, that's your mum, you know, you can't just cut her off. Well, actually I can, because I wasn't born here in this world to put up with toxicity from the person who made me. That's not how it works. There needs to be a level of respect. There needs to be a level of understanding. And I don't get that from my mum. So she therefore won't have access to me. You know, unfortunately, it is sad, but it is what it is. And I feel so much happier for it.
Yeah. And like you say, you have to, I think, you know, when people talk about, like, you know, my family is not, I don't have 100%, I don't have healthy relationships with both my parents. You know, I'm working out how to kind of navigate it. But, you know, when people do talk about parents and cutting out parents, and, you know, sometimes you literally just, like you just said, you have to put yourself first, right? You have to listen. And if you've grown up and, you know, you've had these toxic relationships, you know, as a result of like childhood trauma, like we were just discussing, there comes a point in your life when you have to listen to your emotions. You have to put yourself first and learn these boundaries, these skills that, you know, our parents didn't give us. So yeah, I can totally like relate to that. And there does come a point where your happiness matters. So your happiness should have always like, you know, it matters, and you can still forge a life without family members attached, or it's difficult because a lot of the time with trauma, you are getting that trauma through family members. So
exactly, it is hard, you know, because I don't really have much family around me. My family in general is toxic, but irrespective, I'm so much happier now than when I had my family in my life, you know. So it's possible to go on. You don't need a family, you know, this view in society that you need your family. You don't need your family. You know, you can live your life well and be happy without toxic family members. You know, it's just family is just a social construct. Let's be real. You don't need them in order to survive. Yes, it's better, you know, with family around you, but if they're toxic, then that might not be the case. You know, so you should be able to remove people from your life who cause you harm, whether that be physically, emotionally, or psychologically. You know,
it's so true. It's so true. And I think it's such an important point to raise, because there'll be a lot of people, you know, myself as well, who are like, oh, I don't know what to do. I feel like in my version is a little bit different. So, you know, I haven't spoken to one parent for a couple of years. Now that I've learned all these techniques and tools and things, I think I'm ready to open that up again. But now that I've got boundaries and, you know, I can hold myself better, basically, you know, I'm not going to get pulled in certain ways. I'm looking to kind of get that relationship back going. And then I have another parent. Obviously you have two parents. I'm not saying which one, but you know, who I have a good relationship with. But that has been based on me. Now again, it's all come down to my boundaries. You know, I used to live for my parents or live for the family approval, or just go home and put on a mask of like pretending to be someone that I wasn't. So then I had this like disconnect of who am I really? Like, I don't even know who I am. I'm so confused. So, you know, I've had this time alone now, and yeah, I think I'm in a much better place with family members, because I've learnt boundaries and I stick to my boundaries, like we were discussing at the start, assertiveness, listening to your emotions, listening to what feels good for you, trusting your intuition, you know, those types of things that I just used to bury down before and just not listen to and just be unhappy but smiling.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. It's so true.
But wow, we've covered a lot there.
I know, it's been a really good conversation.
Yeah, no, it's just nice. Even just, it can be quite like a thought, like healing, isn't it? When you're just talking about it, and you know, hearing other people's experiences, and you know, I think the work that you've done, it's just amazing, and the amount of people that you're helping. You know, even for when I reached out, I wanted to learn more about narcissism and narcissists and like how you can get through it. So even, you know, all the things that you just mentioned, like the red flags to look out for, I wouldn't have known any of that before. So, you know, even if I'm not someone who's directly had the full spectrum of being with a narcissist, I think it's important to still be, you know, having these conversations and learning, because it could, like you say, it can come up anytime.
Yeah,
these people are out there.
Yeah, literally, it could affect anyone at any given time in their life. So it is important to be well equipped to know how to deal with these type of people if they should, you know, present to you. It's extremely important. So it is kind of everyone's business. It's not just the business of survivors, you know, people who have been through it. Because had we known the information that we're giving other people now, we might not have ended up in that situation in the first place and endured all of this trauma as a result. So, you know, it's about prevention. You know, and also like helping people who've been through it, but the goal is prevention. How do we stop people enduring this trauma in the first place? You know.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the best way to leave it. But thank you so much. It's been great chatting to you. You know, you don't really get to connect. Lockdown is just weird, isn't it? I just feel like I jump on these lives and I just really like love connecting with people, because I don't really speak to many people either. So it's no, I'm definitely going to be following obviously your page, and I'll be posting this and linking everything as well. But yeah, it was really great to meet you.
It was really good talking to you. Thank you for having me on.
We'll have to, who knows, in the future maybe we'll reconnect and see how we're both getting on with our healing journeys. I'm trying to manifest. I am ready now, I think, to like manifest a relationship. So, who knows? Maybe that's gonna talk about that soon. Okay then. Well, have a nice evening.
You too. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.